Again, it's good to see this number of folks that turned out tonight. This is, I believe, the second of the public workshops, and I want to make a clarification on that first and foremost. This is not a public hearing. Public hearing involves a whole lot more than what we're saying. This is a collection of folks that are gathered here, and I want to thank each and every one of you. And I've been asked to do the introduction of Woody Giles, and I'll do that in just a moment. But I want to clarify a few things in that too. This is a workshop, and the priority portion of that is work. This is going to be, and it's really hard for me to capture, but I've been with the leadership team with this in 7 counties west. And in this, what we come to do tonight is to look where things are at now based on data that has been collected. So with that, the collection of the data is going to be presented tonight. And in that, it's called the baseline. We look to it, and you look at it and see if you like it, or you don't like it, or you see something that's been left out. Now's the time to do it. I pastor a church, and everything that I want to hear is in the parking lot. And that's not the way it needs to be here tonight. It needs to be said out, and this is an opportunity to speak and to have those things placed in it. I want to think of it more like a snapshot, and you see that there's some things that we can change to make that better. And you got to think in the terms of that it says regional. And I'll tell you, if you haven't figured it out yet, where's Mr. Davis? Mr. Davis and I were in the school system for a good long while. If you don't come together regionally, you haven't got enough bark. And we need to do that. But in this process, and it has its own genesis, it has its own beginning. Yes, it was with the issue of mediation for that of the decision making for Corridor K. This process is not focused on Corridor K. This process is focused on the regional picture, and out of this also, we're one of the 2 counties that's going to benefit from that of a comprehensive plan and also a comprehensive transportation plan. Those folks met earlier on today, and I spoke to some of those members. So it's really an exciting time. I hope you'll be able to grasp what this is. It took me a little while to get a hold of it, but this is an excellent staff that's come together. They've got their whole history about how they came to be the organization that came together to work to bring this about. And I am just thoroughly pleased. And I know that the great organization has its fingerprints on a lot of you that are here tonight. And I so appreciate that organization. And I know that with that, we have a framework in place. The municipalities are represented here tonight. The county is represented here tonight. The public is represented here tonight. Business owners. We have the collection that needs to be here to do this. So I want to be quiet. And I hope that everybody here will speak their mind. You invite everybody to the table to eat. And I've never been to a table that I don't eat at. You are here. Now is the time, the place. And let that be said. If you see something that needs your changes, now's the time to speak it. And I'll guarantee you, this staff right here, these folks, would rather be quiet all night and listen to you. I'll guarantee it. So with that, I'll introduce a young man named Woody Giles. He's a Wake Forest graduate, and that's good. Because it's not Appalachian State. That's good. I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Woody Giles. Thank you.
Thanks, Chairman Edwards, and thanks to everybody for being here. It's exciting to see so many people out in the room. We appreciate you taking your time to be here. We know you could have been doing something besides being in a public meeting, so glad you're here. I wanted to start talking about the question that's on everyone's minds, which is, why are we here and how did we get here? First, let me take a quick break and just introduce our team. My name is Woody Giles. I'm with TSW, which is the firm that's leading this planning process called Opt-in. Also here tonight is Bill Cornell, standing up right here with my firm, who's a part-time Graham County resident. Yanni Longo is with ACP Planning. He's helping us with the regional aspect of the vision. We also have Ben Brown and Stacey Guffey there in the back. Those are our communications and outreach guys. And we have Tim Priest and Olin Dalehausen in the back, who are our transportation experts. We also have a lot of other experts on our team to help us understand the complete picture of the region. So while we're here, I'll jump back to a little history lesson and then bring us up to the present. So in 1963, there was a book called Night Comes to the Cumberlands published, which was about Eastern Kentucky, but was important because it really brought a lot of Appalachian issues to the national consciousness. So the book talked about Appalachia being behind in terms of educational expectancy, or educational attainment, life expectancy, health, connectivity, a lot of issues. And people realized that Appalachia was lagging behind the rest of the country in a lot of things. This got the attention of Congress, Regional Commission, which addresses the area in pale yellow on the map. I know it's hard to see, but from Mississippi all the way up to New York, they wanted to focus on economic development, increasing education, increasing connectivity, a lot of investments to bring Appalachia up on par with the rest of the country. One of the important ways they did that was to create the Appalachian Development Highway System. You can see all of the red lines on that map. And the idea was that a lot of the reason Appalachia lags behind is because of a lack of connectivity, and so increasing the roads could be really important there. So they made all of these red lines and numbered them with letters all the way up the East Coast. And a lot of those, you can see the dark blue lines have been built. In fact, a lot of the roads we drive on every day are those. If you see a little blue sign that says Appalachian Highway, it was built with Appalachian Development Highway System money. So Corridor A, for instance, is US 74 here in southwestern North Carolina. A couple of the segments that you see up there haven't been built or haven't been built completely, and one of those includes Corridor K, that many of you know is here in Graham County. So Corridor K was on that original Appalachian Development Highway System, and there was a lot of talk about how, when, why it should happen, and a lot of discussions had, and there wasn't able to reach consistent agreement on that. So the process sort of hit a brick wall. Not everyone could agree. So the federal government, a particular branch of the federal government called the Institute for Environmental Conflict Resolution, came in and said, time out on Corridor K. We can't reach a solution on exactly what it should look like. So we need to look at the bigger picture. We need to stop that discussion and sort of zoom out and think about the region. So that's why we're here tonight with opt-in, to think about certainly transportation issues, but also bigger issues that affect the region, because everyone knows that a highway does not stop at the county line, that transportation and the transportation network is a region-wide thing. Jobs don't stop in the county line. If jobs come to Murphy, there's going to be people from Robbinsville going to them. So everything that happens in the region benefits every county and is connected with every county. So we're here tonight to talk about the 7-county region that you see up there, including Graham County, and a lot of issues affecting the region, not just transportation, but economic development, land use, health, any issues that are important to you and important to the region. We decided to call it the Opportunity Initiative because it's not a top-down solution. This isn't a legislative plan that gets adopted and tells all the counties what to do. It's a bottom-up solution. And we're here tonight to start that plan. So what happens in the plan and what the priorities are ultimately comes from you and other people like you in the region. So we're really trying to find out solutions and policies that can be the best way to grow the region in the future and put it on track. All of those pieces will go into a regional vision, which Chairman Edwards mentioned is why we're here tonight, thinking about the regional vision. There's also 2 other pieces for Graham County. There's a comprehensive plan, which takes some of those bigger policies and goals from the regional vision and puts them down at the county level in terms of how those initiatives might get implemented. And there's a comprehensive transportation plan, or CTP, which looks specifically at the transportation component and what sort of transportation solutions are best for Graham County. So the regional and vision will inform those other 2, but they also overlap a little bit. So part of what the comprehensive plan and the CTP talk about will be in the regional vision, and part of it will be outside. So it's sort of a complex relationship, but at the end of this process, we'll have 3 separate documents that work on Graham County, but the regional vision is what we're here to talk about tonight, and I'm glad that Chairman Edwards, who I don't see right now, he's somewhere in the room, right, mentioned that this is not a public hearing, because we really are here as a workshop to hear from you, to discuss and get those ideas. So I would emphasize that it's not, we're going to talk for a few minutes about what's going on, but it's not a top-down process, and your input's very important to us. So with that, I'll turn things over to Gianni to talk about the regional vision.
Thank you. Good evening. So I guess we were asking the question, why are we here? There's two more questions. What is a vision? Particularly, what is a regional vision? And why a regional vision matters? A very simple definition is a vision is an effort to bring together a diverse cross-section of leaders, special interest group, and residents from all parts of the region to agree on a desired future and recommend how the future can be realized. Now, it's very important that all these pieces come together, the leaders, the special interest groups, and the citizens, you. Why is that important? It's important because the country is filled with top-down plans that don't get implemented. And the country is filled with bottom-up plans that really don't have the clout to move whatever is necessary to actually get it done. So I call this from the center out. So we started with a small group of people, and more people are becoming part of this, particularly through this series of public meetings. Regions are very interesting creatures because, at the local level, at the local jurisdiction, at the county level, we know how to get certain things accomplished. There is a protocol. They are elected officials and so on. In a vision, this government, this business, they're not-for-profit, they're special interests, they're residents, and all of them are doing great work. All of them have their own missions, their strategies, and so on. But the question is that everybody should ask is, are those interests lined up so that the interest of the region actually is served? And again, why is that important? Well, part of what we're doing is to begin to see how we can line up all those interests, those mission statements, those projects, those strategies, those initiatives, those tactics, so that we bring them through the lens of the vision, which is going to come from you, and it's going to really line up those energies toward the future. So, the best way to think about it, you can pull a carriage with two people pulling on the same side. You can have two people pulling on different sides, and the carriage is not going to move. So that's the thing. But the important thing is the lens. The lens of the vision that lines up all these energies. These are all great energies that are put into the region already. So we have a choice. We can have this kind of a lens that is not going to get us particularly far, or we can choose through the vision to have some clarity about what this region has the potential to become in the next 5, 10, 15 years. And again, why does it matter? Well, a lot of this is about economics. At the end of the day, if you were in business, you would be doing vision, mission statement, strategic planning, I'm sure almost every year, but certainly every 5 years. One of the great mysteries of decision making in towns and regions and so on is that for some reason we don't do that. And so we take a reactive position rather than a proactive position. Well, we line up those energies and say, this is what we want, and we're going to find out how we're going to get there. All right. Why have this picture up? Well, this is very simple. If you were in business at the turn of the last century, and you were doing really well with the horse buggy, you would be out of business in no time at all if you didn't think, or if you didn't plan for this other thing, the Model T, Ford, a whole new thing happening. It changed everything. So the vision is about really making that strategic thinking so that we can all benefit from our own strategic thinking. But there is another thing that is also very important. If we do not do it, someone else will do it for us. And we might not like what we see. We might not like what we get. So this is why it's so tremendously rewarding to see so many of you here, ready to really, put your thinking caps and think about the vision for the future of this region. And Optim, the opportunity initiative, is something that will do that. But how are we going to do it? Okay, so far, we did a number of things. First things, we did technical analysis. We looked at all the information. I'm going to come up here. We did information, and then we developed what we call a baseline vision. This is kind of what we know about your region. Then we have interviewed hundreds of people in this region. Many of you are in this room that I personally interviewed, or that Ben interviewed, or Stace interviewed, or Bill Tonell interviewed. You told us a huge number of things. So what we did, we created what we call a draft vision framework. And on your table, there is a review copy of that draft vision framework. You can peruse it, and it's going to be posted online shortly. So what is this about? This is about kind of organizing the first cut of ideas that you brought to us through these interviews. Now we are here. We are at the community workshops, and the idea here, like when you throw a pebble in the water, is that the group of people involved, the 100 people interviewed, just tonight we have another 60 of you, and we're going to do this in every county. The pebble, the rings that come from the pebble thrown in the water are going to get bigger, bigger, and bigger. And out of that, we're going to start goals and principles, which is the foundation of the regional vision. And by the way, nothing in this regional vision is going to be done without you looking at it. So we're coming back here 2 more times in the process. Every time with more information, with more data, with more understanding of how your region works. Briefly, I already told you about the regional vision framework, but there are 2 parts of the regional vision framework. What we heard and how preliminary recommendations that you're going to work with tonight. For us, great, and as great knowledge the people that we interviewed had, you are many more minds. There are many sets of eyes. So we're going to ask you, do the things that we heard resonate with you? Do they make sense? Are they important to you as they were important to the people we spoke to? And when we get to those preliminary recommendations, is about, which one of those recommendations, if we implement those recommendations as part of the regional vision, what will it give to this county? Because at the end of the day, yes, we are doing a regional vision, but also you want benefits to come here, right? You are an important part of this region. So it's kind of 2 levels, and today, that's why we have you at the tables, and that's why we have table leaders at each table to help you go through this process of telling us, did we get it right in the first sets of interviews? Are those things important? And what are we going to, what's important on this recommendation for a county? I would like the facilitator to raise their hand, to be recognized, and I would like to give them a hand because they're going to have a lot of work. In the next hour or so, they'll be really busy. Okay, you already saw these posters. If you make comments, great. If you didn't make comments and you want to make comments, great. They are still there. You can still add comments. And by the way, on the top of every table, there is a generic comment card. So if there is anything that you want to tell us, we didn't like the way we did it. We didn't like Johnny Longo, whatever. Just tell us, because we are learning through these communication tools. Okay, so what are these pillars? We were trying to figure out, we could have used technical words. We could have said, well, we want to talk about the planning element of environment, economy, land use, transportation, and quality of life. We said, just wait a minute. First of all, what we heard just did not fit neatly in each one of those categories. And second, we wanted to be kind of more open about what is the meaning of these things. So And this is a work in progress. So what better than the pillars? We're building these pillars. You're gonna help us tonight to build this pillar so that we can begin to take outside of the ground, off the ground, this vision. So we have 5 pillars. The first one is the place we are given, which is about really the extraordinary, beautiful, natural and cultural resources that you have. I come from New York City. And you know, every time I come here, the moment I get into these valleys, I start breathing. My lungs get bigger, the air feels better, and I can see far away. And it's, you know, perhaps you've been living here and maybe you don't appreciate as much as I would, but this place is beautiful. This place is really special. So issues related to the places that we're going. The economy we need. You know, without a strong economy, there's not much we can do. Without a strong economy, we cannot implement the vision. So, you know, what are the strategies that we need to think about so that we can move the economy of this region in the right direction and create jobs? Now, that is important for all kinds of reasons, but I always like one reason more than others, and that is jobs will keep our young people here, and we lose them. If we don't have those jobs, we're going to lose them. So, very important. Then we have places we make. And the places we make is our town, our villages, the man-made environment, everything that we do. And we heard a lot about keeping this village, small town feelings that some of our communities have. How important is that? We also heard almost from everyone we spoke that no, you don't want to be like Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. Does that resonate to you? How do we do that, right? Well, these are the challenges, that's why we're here. Then we have the way we get around. The way we get around is about transportation. It's about all kinds of ways that we can improve the mobility of this region. You tell us. And you already did a lot of work today with those panels in the back that Tim and Olin were facilitating, where you express some preferences. Tell us what you think about that. And then the quality of life that we expect. Now this is very, very, very important. To tell you the truth, we heard little about this. And I said, well, you know, first of all, if we do a vision, quality of life is everything, right? It affects the economy, affects the environment, affects the places, affects transportation and so on. But then there is another level, there's education. Graham County has tremendous health challenges. When I spoke to people in this county, and I was told that if you are in a dire straight situation, you need to travel for an hour and 20 minutes to go to the hospital that can treat it, that is dire. So we need to think about this. And you can tell me maybe these issues are not important, but if they are important, we want to hear from you. It is a work in progress, and what we're doing tonight is the beginning of the enlarging of the circle. So where do we go from here? First of all, this is one of 7 meetings that we will be holding, one in each of the counties. By the way, if you know somebody in Cherokee County, if you know somebody in Clay County, in Swain County, and so on, and if you like what we did today, give them a call. Tell them to come to these meetings. These are all on the website. I'll give you the address at the end. Because, you know, it's very important. The more people we hear from, the better it's going to be. Where do we go from here? Well, very briefly, out of all the stuff you're going to give us, we're going to build some scenarios. I'm sorry I'm getting into planese. I will try to make it as simple as possible. Scenarios, we're going to say, okay, what if we do this? What if we do this? What if we do this? Maybe we do 3, 4 scenarios. And we are working with the University of North Carolina, the NEMA in Asheville, to model these scenarios, to tell us what is going to be the impact of these scenarios on not only on the region as a whole, but also, this is the scenario performance that you see over here, but also to the individual counties. And by the way, this is one of the few places that this is being done. Because in regional vision, it's always about the region. Here we say, wait a second, it is about the region, but it's also about benefits to the individual county. So we're going to do that, and then as I promised you, in February we're going to be back here, and we will tell you what the performance of these scenarios, these what-if situations they are, and you will tell us what you like. That's going to be a really interesting meeting. You're going to make choices, and we want to give you the tools to make informed choices about those scenarios. Oops, let's skip one. And then, after we have this preferred scenario, that's like now we have a vision, but we have to figure out how to implement it. So we're going to do that homework, come back here, we will do that in early spring, and show you, and you can comment on what we will have then. And then finally, somewhere in May, we will do a summit. We will convene people from all over the counties, the 7 counties and the eastern band of the Cherokee Indians, and we will use technology, we'll use keypads, so that you can actually, we can present ideas and you can tell us, yes, no, go ahead, you know, all those things instantaneously, so that you actually will be making the final decisions on this vision. So what are we doing tonight? Very briefly, because it's now time for you to get to your work. First, as I said, we're going to review what we heard. And the first question we're going to ask is, do these comments, the one that you will be given a list of comments, reflect what you believe are the important issues for the regional vision to address in this pillar? 2, are there additional issues that you would like the region to address? So, if you don't like what we've got so far, add things. That's what we need. If you don't like it, tell us what would you like. And then we will do a reporting. So every table is going to have a person reporting, and you'll hear what the thinking is about all this stuff. Then we're going to do a second activity, and in the second activity, we're going to share with you these preliminary recommendations. Every person we interview, we ask, what are the must-have things for this vision? You know, the must-have, the most important thing that we need to address. They give us some ideas. We're going to share them with you. You tell us, yeah, those are the, we agree, we disagree. But in this case, we also are going to ask you to rank them in order of importance. And we're going to ask them to rank them in order of importance to your county. If we implement this recommendation, which of these recommendations are the most important for our county? You've been assigned randomly to these tables. You have these numbers. As you came, you were given a number. The reason why we're going to do that is because we want to have a conversation. And we want to have a conversation that if we had all the experts on transportation on one table and all the experts on natural resources on the other, they will be talking about the same thing that they always talk about. And you know, as Einstein said, we cannot solve the problem with the same way of thinking that created it. So we're going to try to get a good, fresh conversation, a good, fresh dialogue. So it's randomly assigned, and so each table has one of those pillars. You might say, why am I in the economic pillar? Because I'm the expert in transportation. And the answer to that is, everyone in this room is the expert. And you live here, you work here, you know, you intuitively know what works and what doesn't work, and that's what we want from you. You know, and these things, the most important thing is listen to what everybody says. If we just did a survey, you know, we could get your opinion. But in a group, maybe one mind can change, maybe one position change. That's what dialogue is about. So be respectful of all the ideas. help the table leaders, because they're gonna have their hands full. And we're going to ask you to write ideas and so on, write them legibly, because me and my staff are going to have to type them all up. So we would like to really know what you're saying. So write them as legibly as you can, and we will transcribe all of them, and they will be up on the website. So that you can go to the meeting in Graham County, the meeting in Robbinsville, and you will even know, probably there'll be also the table, so you can see whether your ideas are good. Because we are committed to put them all up there for, as part of this building of this vision. So, let's get to work. Let's have the table leader take on. In about, let me mind correctly, in about 40 minutes, we're going to do the reporting from each table, and then we'll do the second phase. It's your work. Thank you all.
Okay, guys.
Well, I think in a lot of ways,
In the road to here.
just some general discussion about what you see on the list that sort of stands out. Like, yeah, that you may agree or you may adamantly disagree. Like I said, I don't think that this is in any way because of this, whatever. The ideas that came out of what interview.
Complacency. Does that mean we should have more or less land, or what? I wonder what
This is what, sure,
I think what we're trying to ask.
yes, and what we're trying to say is this is what's already been heard from the interviews that have already been done. And so maybe what you're in agreement with or disagreement with, and then add to.
We are now going to hear what each table, just a summary of what each table talked about.
Ed, you
This
want to
is
read
not
first?
just to have some conclusion, just to get a feel of what conversations
Anybody wanna read
went
for our
on
table?
on the tables, what kind of things that each table thought were important for the region and for the county. So let's start with table number one. Who's the report? Okay, you want to come over here?
I'm not going to read all of this. One of the things, I guess, the big thing that came away from our table is our natural resources.
David, you're gonna have to speak up some more.
What?
Speak up some more.
Speak up?
Yeah.
The big thing that we talked about in our group is natural resources and how important it is to the community. And so I think everyone at our table agreed that that's really our claim to fame in this county. And we've seen it on the poster boards back there, but I think we all basically reinforce that. One of the things that we talked about that we thought was needed was some kind of land usage goals that we would have for the county so that we have organized and clean development without ruining natural resources. You don't want to be like Gatlinburg, for example. Talk about tourism being important. There's just so much. I don't know what.
Just the best.
Okay. We talked about how young folks need to have something to do with the county, and how sometimes we lose our young people. And one of the points that I made is, how many folks here are local that have lived here all their lives? I feel like we're underrepresented in the group here by having folks that have been here all their lives.
Thank you. Table number two.
Pillar number 2 is about the economy.
A little louder, Sarah.
Okay, the economy we need, one of the things on our sheet that everybody by consensus very much did not like was a sentence that says, if a junk recycling business wants to move into downtown, then I'm all for it. A job is a job. And the whole table disagreed with that, which led to a good conversation on the need for land use planning and some land use restrictions, particularly in the small towns, the need for beautifying the small towns, the continued beautification of downtowns. Broadband was a big issue, better connectivity to enhance the job possibilities for folks. Suggestions were restaurants should be able to serve alcohol. We opened a big can of worms over here. And more dining and lodging options, safe roads, better signage, and the development of businesses that cater to the activities that already go on in the region, such as the outdoor recreation and natural resource-based businesses.
Great. Number 3.
We had issues that should be covered in the regional visioning process, and specifically, mainly in Graham County. A lot of discussion was around land use regulation, how to manage the expected growth. Some conversation on the development of the bypass and how that relates to business and entrepreneurship. And as we start to develop infrastructure going out towards Santigua and other areas of the community. And again, on another topic of developing more variety with the entrepreneurial community, not really viewed as a big box store type area, but to really capitalize on the young minds and developing small home-based businesses and storefronts. And the need to put more community effort towards growing the tourism industry was another topic. Some of the ideas that were put out that were not presented in the sheets that should be given a lot of thought was further development of our educational system here as far as training for our existing industry and the potential new ones that we are seeing come along. Healthcare, not only for hospital type facilities, but also in the mental health field. It is pointed out, and it's true, we don't have a mental health facility in Western North Carolina for quite a ways. Continuing to build a diversified economy so that we don't have all our eggs in one particular basket, and continue to develop our fiber optic capabilities.
Great.
Okay, pillar number 4 were the ways we get around, which is about roadways and transportation. We talked about better access to the county. It doesn't have to be a highway, a 4-lane highway. We could add passing lanes on the major roadways into the county, make existing roads better. Consider that we might not have the demographics or infrastructure to support a major highway. Tourists are drawn to us because we don't have highways. It's a unique feel, spiritual. A highway would bring in a bad element. We got the next controversial one besides alcohol, I think. Sections of roads need to be connected. Our existing roads need to be connected. We talked a lot about access to health care or lack thereof, and roadways to get ambulances out in case helicopters can't get out. Build a hospital here instead of a highway. U.S. Forest Service owns majority of roads, so we don't have access for tourists. And what we were talking about there is like pull-offs and things like that, or we can't put banners up because we don't have use of the roadways, the side of the roadways. And tourism is not just about a road to get people here, but also about offering activities for them to do.
lot. It seems to kind of intertwine with every other one as far as that. So a lot of this is redundant. We discussed a lot of the same things at the other day we had. One thing that in our tour looking at it was there was a lot of focus on the lack of healthcare and healthcare facilities. But there was a little discussion about the focus on youth as far as activities for youth to do, things to do, connectivity issues with the ARC grant for the computers that Graham County received for the students. Not having access at home to an internet system to use those computers. Job opportunities, varieties of, in the county here, varieties of grocery stores, department stores, shopping, which will also work with people coming in. And also industrial transportation, railroads, buses, access to airports for people that would be coming in and out of this area. So, did I miss any? Did y'all want to make sure I include access? Get that. All right, and I think that's what we're ready.
Okay, I had a question before I started. Am I reading off just this one sheet or off all of it? Am I summarizing the whole work or just this one?
You just need to give us a flavor and summary of what was.
Okay, well, ours was the same as table one. We had natural resources. One of the things that came out of it was balance outdoor resources with economic development. Thought that was a very good one. We had a couple of questions that came out of our group, really, is to know how much arts and crafts in our area is an economic stimulator or something of that nature. We had questions about that. We also thought that there was some, tourism is a big word, we throw it around a lot, but there's also some problems associated with that. Are we ready to handle the large groups or things of that nature coming into our county, with that, whether that be infrastructure or whatever? Capitalizing on what we have, marketing, we thought that was a big deal. We have now natural resources, let's market them correctly. We also got a little bit off on the road as well, talking about the 4-lane access to bring people in to view what we have in our area. One of the other things that we touched on was agriculture, support farms, growth of that agriculture. I think our whole table kind of had a feel for the agriculture part that we're not tapping into, whether it be farms, small farms, animals, livestock production, as well as harvesting our forests as well, was something that came out of our also we touched on planning for land management. We touched on affordable, timely health care as well. Oh, and one thing that I thought was pretty cool, one of the suggestions was downtown Robbinsville is a place or destination, not just to make that a place. I thought that was a good one. We had some concerns about calling our area a mecca instead of a paradise. Has some, and also we got down to talking about the history of Graham County, and that goes back to our culture and the people of Graham County being its biggest asset as well. And then, and you're gonna save these words for later? Okay, you want me to tell you some of them or save them for later?
Just a summary.
Oh, okay, well, we hit on some words on the back. Access, balance, stability, usability, investment, safety, health, quality, culture, heritage, place, opportunity, value, strength, and highlight. And highlight being market.
So this is just a brief summary. We are collecting every one of those forms, so whatever you wrote down in those forms will be taken into consideration and will go up on the web. We have about half an hour switch. Before, up to now, we talked about the region. Now I want to know how those recommendations, you have a list for your pillar, how those recommendations benefit this county. What's in it for you? What is going to motivate you to be part of this effort? It's going to take about 10 minutes of an open discussion as we did before. Then we're going to do a ranking of priorities. And then we'll just have a couple of questions and we'll be over. So the facilitator can take over. We're not going to rank this. You looked at this idea, this recommendation for your pillar. Now we are going to rank. And I apologize because I guess I didn't make it clear that even though you're ranking individually, your own opinions are going to be in this. I wanted to do it all together. So some groups went ahead, but that's perfectly fine. What we need to do is this. Look at your list from this great forum. And if you have more than 4 recommendations, just cross out the 2 that you don't really care for, right? Just cross out, because we're going to rank the top 4. So if you have 6, you have 2. If you have 5, you cross 1 out. Just eliminate one of those recommendations if you have more than 4.
All right, listen, folks,
We're in the parking
really,
lot.
sincerely, I wasn't allowed to be in.
Spencer,
Because of my
can I have you?
physical
Thank you
whatever.
so much.
And whatever. But I'll tell you what, I had the privilege of watching. And I'll tell you what, there couldn't be a better cross-section of folks here, because I know a lot of you, and I've learned about some of the rest of you. But this process, and I keep wanting to say it, it's in February. I want to remind the staff that's doing the work that you better bring some extra clothes and plan to stay in Robbinsville. Because it will snow in February. But that's okay too. April too. Yeah, April too. But honestly, I want to express it, and I was just to be the guy to welcome you, and I'm not going to be the guy to send you away. But I appreciate every one of you. We have a great representation here. Folks in a great organization. We have representatives from travel and tourism, hospitality. We have folks in the resorts. We have love it. And really, that's a really good combination. And I don't want to skip anybody. But in that, I would stress to you, listen, you got to stick with the process, because what's going to result from this is going to be the thing that everybody's putting into it. And in February, I'm excited to see what that's going to be. And the thing that excites me more about the regional aspect is that this is going to be done in other counties across the region. One thing that I really dream someday is that there are no more county lines. That's my dream. I may die here soon, but it used to be called St. Franklin. There we go. But anyway, I better get off that topic. But in all sincerity, appreciate it. What is wrong? That's a good idea. All right, thank you again. Drive safe. Come back in February.